Today we are going to be talking about horror remakes and why they absolutely suck and why we, as the horror community, may be a part of the problem. Hello, I am Ghosty Russ, and today we are going to be talking about horror remakes, and for the most part, why they fail so hard most of the time. While I think that the easiest solution and the kind of most obvious thing is the studios. Studios love a good, quick, and easy cash grab, and the horror community is so used to it at this point that I'm surprised that we keep getting tricked. But are we a part of the problem? Let's talk about it. So when it comes to horror remakes, and when I say remakes, I'm also referring to reboots, one thing is for certain. If this movie includes any sort of cherished characters, then nostalgia kind of takes over, and the movie is instantly fighting an uphill battle against the community itself. I mean, think about it. Whenever you heard or saw the Nightmare on Elm Street remake, you probably took one look at Jackie Earle Haley and were like, who the fuck is this guy? Essentially, what happens is that when we see this title, we associate it with this nostalgic memory of these characters and these stories, and when something comes out and remakes this and tries to improve, it pretty much is a direct challenge to a cherished memory that we hold. But sometimes the movies themselves aren't necessarily bad movies. Sometimes the members of the community just kind of shut them down instantly without giving them a fair chance, and we wind up with these really decent movies that we don't really appreciate until years later. I think part of this is that the horror community is a very, very opinionated community. I mean, look at me. I'm making a whole video based around my opinion on other people's opinions. But the community, obviously, is probably not the worst offender in all of this, and honestly, we gotta take a look at the studios. Now, where studios mess up besides right off the bat with wanting to remake or revitalize or reimagine these stories is that they want to change established characters. One example of one of these bad changes is from the previously mentioned Nightmare on Elm Street from 2010. In the original franchise, Freddy was kind of well known and became famous for being a comedic character. I don't want to say full-on comedy, but he was just very witty and had character about him. And it was a character that pretty much threw Freddy into becoming a pop culture icon. And then 2010 rolls around and Jackie Earle Haley, who I'm not going to blame for his portrayal of Freddy, he did what the studio wanted, but unfortunately that was paying more attention to the child predator aspect of Freddy that was really toned down in the original and wasn't really touched on in the remaining sequels. And while the remake was technically a box office success, it was critically trashed. And honestly, I can't blame them. I mean, we literally went from this to this.
Your mouth says no, but your body says yes.
You don't need to hear things like that. You just a boy.
Now, another sin that these studios commit is changing the kind of underlying message, or imposing an underlying message. A good example of this is the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It had this raw, almost documentary style realism. You had a family of cannibals who would literally torture and kill people and eat them as if they were livestock. Now jump to 2022 and Netflix steps into the picture. And they wanted to change things and make it more about the current social climate of the time and gentrification. And while it was a streaming success because of how many people watched the movie, critically, again, it was trashed. And they also ripped off the 2018 Halloween kind of vibe, the Laurie and Michael thing. Yeah, they completely tried to rip that off. Now, we've already mentioned a few, but let's quickly call out a few other horrible offenders of the cursed remakes. Child's Play 2019. Now, while this may not be the worst of the remake bunch, it definitely is one that stands out to me as being just a bad remake. Literally, if this was called anything else besides Child's Play, I don't think I would have as much of a problem with it. The problem with this, at least for me, lies within the change of story from being the soul of a serial killer, using voodoo, transports his soul into a doll body, and then continues being a serial killer. And now it is a faulty AI robot. It just kind of stripped away the personality and the character that we've all come to know and love from Chucky. Now another one that I'm going to throw under the bus is Candyman from 2021. This one is technically a sequel and reboot. It completely changed everything from the original in the sense of the underlying message. And while the underlying message is pretty much the same, they completely stripped away any sort of nuance and any sort of good storytelling or good writing that kind of gave us that theme in the original. And this one, it was just blatantly spelt out for us at every turn. I mean, literally, the original had social commentary as part of the theme, but this one just slaps you in the face with it every chance it gets, and it just felt like, honestly, it just felt like a political ad. Now, as I mentioned before, we are going to be touching on some of the better remakes and better reboots. Because, believe it or not, there are actually some that do a very good job. And no, I'm not just picking movies that I like. This one is actually one that I'm not the biggest fan of. And that is It 2017. It holds true to the original, but in an updated sense. This is what happens when a studio truly respects the source material, whether that be the original book by Stephen King or the TV series from the 90s. Another one that I'm going to touch on is Hulu's Hellraiser from 2022. This is a very fresh take on the mythology of the Hellraiser series, and honestly, it was just really, really good. It was updated, but the aesthetic and just kind of like faithfulness to the original theming was very, very apparent. You could tell that these people wanted to make a good Hellraiser film, because that is something that, for some reason, has been so hard to accomplish with every other Hellraiser movie after Part 3, Hell on Earth.
My God, are you still talking?
Not only is this a updated and refreshed take, but it really expands upon the lore and incorporates a lot of new things. But honestly, I didn't mind any of that at all because they did it so well. And last but not least, we're going to be talking about Rob Zombie's Halloween from 2007. Now, this one may be divisive, but I honestly think this is the best horror remake, at least in modern time. Rob Zombie took a very Rob Zombie approach to this movie, and all of the updates and changes honestly work for what the movie is. And you can tell that Rob is definitely a huge fan of the original movie. So all of the changes and tweaks that he made were only to make his version of this movie the best version that it could be. So, in conclusion, while we as the horror community may be partially to blame for some of these movies not really getting a chance, I think overall it is safe to say that studios just need to step up their game if they're going to touch something that already has an established fan base. Stop with the cash grabs. Stop with the cheap pops. Give us a good, well-written remake, and we will respect it. It's been seen time and time again with good remakes. That's all we're asking for. Before I go, I would like to ask a couple of things. Please give this video a like. Please subscribe to the channel for more content like this. And please let me know in the comments your favorite or least favorite horror remake. I have been Ghosty Russ. Thank you for watching.